Good morning. Try to set things up through StreamYard, and my laptop does not want to work. So I'm doing both here on the Chromebook. Hopefully people will find me. My sister's awake. Oh. Hey Lily, thank you for coming. Like I said, I had to go straight through YouTube because StreamYard is not working on my laptop for some reason. I don't get it. It's a pain in the tush. I've got YouTube and Facebook all on the Chromebook smashed in on one screen. So I can't see the comments on Facebook. Let me see if I can shrink this a little bit. Maybe I can get it to where. All right. I can see a little bit of Facebook. Just a little bit. So, technical difficulties, of course. That's just my luck. Like I said, it's an AA meeting. Trying to find a wipe for my glasses. I can't see. And these wipes don't work very well. But it is what it is. Can't complain too much. Got them for free. Anywho, my name's Sandra, and I'm an alcoholic. Please don't be judging each other in the comments or in the chat. It's a no judgment zone for these meetings. If people are in my chat, it's because they are either a recovering alcoholic, a friend, a supporter, a family member, or someone that is just wanting to learn how they can maybe help a family member become sober and get the help they need. Because after all, not everybody knows what to say. Including me. I don't always know what to say either. Because I still have friends and family members that are still drinking. But that's on them. Anyway, so I also put in the description the page we're reading, book we're reading, the name of what we're reading, because I'm in the 4th edition of the big book, and so other people might be in a different edition. And there is a new one coming out, I want to say in July. So it's the new modern book. So, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I knew that this dog was going to do this. Hey! Lay down. Get up here and lay down. Come on. Get up here and lay down. No? Then go eat. Do something. 1. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defective characters. 7. Humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8. Made a list of persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10. Continue to take personal inventory and when wrong, promptly admit it. 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Thank you, Lily, for sharing out the live stream for me. I appreciate it. Hello, Dyson's Crazy Adventures. Thank you for coming, my friend. Sister, friend. So we are on page 531 in the big book. Mine is the 4th edition again. And the story name is Another Chance. And I'm going to read 2 this time because this one's really short, which I think it should be a little longer. Anyways, Another Chance. Poor Black, totally ruled by alcohol, she felt shut away from any life worth living. But when she began a prison sentence, a door opened. I am an African American alcoholic. I don't know when I became an alcoholic, but I do believe I became one because I drank too much too often. I always blamed my drinking on being poor or on anything other than the truth. That I liked what booze did for me. That when I had a drink, I was as big and had as much as the next person. I would never admit that I was drinking too much or spending money that I should have used to buy food for my 2 little boys. As time went on, I drank more. I was not able to hold a job. No one wants a drunk around. I was always able to get a boyfriend who had a drinking joint or sold whiskey, but it didn't last long. I would embarrass everyone by coming in drunk or passing out. Then it got to the place where I couldn't drink without getting in jail. On one of these trips, the judge must have thought I was worth saving, but instead of sending me to jail, he sent me to AA for 1 month. I went to AA, at least my body went. I hated every minute of it. I couldn't wait until the meeting was over to get a drink. I was afraid to drink before the meeting. I thought if they smelled whiskey on my breath, they would lock me up, and I couldn't live without my bottle. I hated that judge for sending me to a place with all those drunks. I wasn't an alcoholic. Oh, I might drink too much at times. Everyone I knew drank, but I don't remember that any of them ever went to sleep in joints and woke up with no shoes on in the winter or fell out of chairs. But I did. I don't remember any of them getting put on or put out in the winter because they didn't pay their rent. But to me, whiskey meant more than a home for my sons. All right. Thank you for coming, my friend. Things got so bad I was afraid to go on the street, so I turned to Mother's Aid. That was one of the worst things that could have happened to an alcoholic woman. I would wait for the mailman each month like any good mother, but as soon as he handed me my check, I put on my best dress and went looking for an alcoholic friend. Once I started drinking, I didn't care that the rent wasn't paid, or that there was no food in the house, or that my boys needed shoes. Stop. Hey, stop. I would stay out until my money was gone. Then I would go home full of remorse and wonder what I was going to do until I got my next check. In time, I began to go out and forget the way back home. I would wake to find myself in some beat up rooming house where roaches were crawling over everything. Then the time came when I couldn't afford whiskey, so I turned to wine. Finally, I got so low down I was ashamed of my friends seeing me, so I went to the worst joints I could find. If it was daylight, I would go down alleys to make sure no one saw me. I felt that I didn't have anything to live for, so I tried off myself many times. But I would always wake up in a psychiatric ward to begin to be in another long treatment. After a while, I found that the psycho ward was a good place to hide when I had taken something stolen to the pawn shop. I thought if the cops did come to the hospital, the doctors would tell them I was crazy and I didn't know what I was doing. But then one good doctor told me there was nothing wrong with me except drinking too much. He said if I came back again, they would send me to the state hospital. I didn't want that, so I stopped going to the psycho ward. Now I had gotten to the place where I would wake up with black eyes and not know where I got them, or wake up with a lot of money and not know where I got it. Later, I found out that I went into stores and stole clothes, then sold them. One morning, I woke up with $1,000. I was trying to remember where it came from when two of the biggest cops I ever saw walked in and took me to jail. It came out that I had sold a woman a fur coat. The cop had picked her up and she told them she had bought it from me. I got out on bail right away, but when I went to trial, the judge gave me 30 days. When my 30 days were up, I started back on my rounds. Didn't last long. They tell me that I killed a man during that period, but I can't remember anything. It was a total blackout for me because I had been drunk. The judge gave me only a 12-year sentence in prison. Hi, Scully. By the grace of God, I only served the 3 years. It was there that I really found out what AA was. I had rejected AA on the outside, but now it came to me in prison. Today, I thank my higher power for giving me another chance at life and AA and being able to try and help some other alcoholic. I have been home for a year and have not taken a drink in 4 years. Since I have been in AA, I have more friends than I ever had in my life. Friends who cared about me and my welfare. Friends who don't care that I am black and that I have been in prison. All they care about is that I am a human being and that I want to stay sober. Since I've been home, I have been able to gain the respect of my 2 sons again. The only thing that bothers me is that there are only about 5 African Americans in AA in my city. Even those don't take part in AA functions as I would like to see them do. I don't know if it's force of habit or something else that keeps them in one place. But I do know that in AA there is much work to do, and none of us can do it standing still. I do think, stinky dog, I do think that some of the African Americans here and other places too are afraid to go to another meeting. I just want to say that you don't have to be afraid because no one at any AA meeting will bite you. There are no color bars in AA. If you give us a try, you will see that we are really human beings and we will welcome you with open arms and hearts. I'm writing this during an AA convention where I have spent the week with nothing but white people. They haven't eaten me yet. I have not seen a black face but mine since I've been here. And if I didn't look in the mirror, I wouldn't know what I was, or wouldn't know that I was black. Because these people treat me as one of them, which I am. We all have the same sickness, and in helping one another, we are able to stay sober. And this one is a late start. It's been 10 years since I retired, 7 years since I joined AA. Now I can truly say that I am a grateful alcoholic. I am a 75-year-old alcoholic. For 55 of those 75 years, I led what is known as a normal middle-class life. Alcohol had as little part in it as candied yams. Nice when there, but unmissed when absent. The home in which I grew up included 2 loving parents, 1 older brother, a constant flow of house pets, riding horses, and friends who were welcomed. Discipline in our house was strict but not out of line with the thinking prevalent during the first quarter of the 20th century. Certainly, I don't consider that that I was in any way abused. I attended private school and later a Midwestern college. I married, had children, worked, experienced the pain of the death of my parents and a child, knew to the pleasure of real friends and financial success. I enjoyed horseback riding, swimming, tennis, and had quiet, quiet evenings filled with children, books, and friends. What happened to me somewhere between the age of 55 and 63, I have no idea. Was life too much? Did some latent gene suddenly take on a fierce life of its own? I don't know. But I do know is that at 65, I was a crawling, dirty maggot of a woman, willing to tarnish all I'd worked for and to dis- disintegrate, disintegrate every dear relationship I had. I know too that through a wonderful set of God guided circumstances and other people, I was led to the only possible course of behavior that will keep me sane, sober, and constructive and happy. I was 20 when I had my first drink, and although I liked the taste, I didn't like the way it made me feel. I didn't drink again until I was in my early 30s and thought it made me seem cool and sophisticated. During these early years, a couple of drinks were enough, and I often nursed one scotch on the rocks for a full evening. When I was 35, my 12-year-old son was diagnosed with an incurable cancer, and within a few months, my husband demanded a divorce. For the following 5 years, while my son lived, I seldom drank and never drank alone. Agony, fear, hurt, and exhaustion did not make me a drunk. Happiness opened that door much, much later. During my mid 40s, my interest in alcohol began to gain momentum. Although I had continued to work, I had otherwise isolated myself to care for my son and his younger sister, each of whom required a special dose of stability, love, and security. Soon after my son's death, I made a decided effort to re-enter the adult world. My debut encouraged my drinking. It was not yet obsessive, but drinking became more and more a part of my daily life. I no longer entertained without serving cocktails and seldom attended gatherings where liquor wasn't provided. I always managed to find the post activity drinking crowd, whether it was after dog obedience training or an oil painting class. During my late 40s, it was not unusual for me to have a drink alone in the evening, although there were still many days when I didn't drink at all. Any event was an occasion for excessive celebration, and there were increasingly frequent weekends when I drank myself to a hangover creating high. Nevertheless, it was during this period that I received a major job promotion. I was 49 when my second husband and I were married. Years before, we had dated through high school and 2 years of college, but then were separated by World War II. Each of us had married elsewhere, divorced, and 30 years later we met by chance. We had 10 years of laughter, sharing, and wonderment, well laced with martinis and scotch on the rocks. By the time I was 60, anyone wise in the ways of alcoholism would have known I was in for big trouble. Happy plans dissolved into pouts, arguments began, and meals burned. Hurricanes of anger rushed through our once happy cottage. We agreed we were drinking too much. We tried the switch technique, the time control schedule, the drink only on weekends ploy. Nothing worked. Between us, we were badly damaging our budget. My husband lost his job, and then for 2 harrowing years, I watched him die of alcoholism. But I learned nothing from his death, and my drinking escalated as I bottle fed my sorrow. My early 60s saw me drunk every night and more frequently calling in sick or for personal leave. Life was pure and unadulterated hell. At work, I was often shaking so badly that I hesitated to give dictation because I would have to sign the letters. I made every possible excuse to meet someone for a business luncheon so that I could have a drink or two. As my alcoholism accelerated, my absenteeism increased and my productivity diminished. I bounced checks, pawned silver, mourned, and I continued my drinking. Finally, on one cold winter day, I called Alcoholics Anonymous, and that evening, two ladies took me to a meeting. We had a 25-minute ride in the car, and I remember how good it was to talk about my fear and shakes. How kind they were without encouraging my self-pity. I remember being given a cup of coffee I could hardly handle and hearing impossible promises that would materialize if I would only make the impossible commitment. I did want to stop. The ladies suggested that I go to a women's meeting the next night, and I did. I had a drink first, of course, and when it came time to identify myself, I stated that my brain told me I was an alcoholic, but the rest of me didn't believe it. The next night, it snowed, and I stayed home and drank. That was the end of my first try at AA. Some months later, I invited my daughter and son-in-law for dinner to celebrate her birthday. They found me sprawled across the living room floor, passed out cold. What a mournful birthday present. It took very little persuasion to convince me to go into the detoxification program at the local hospital. I knew I was in trouble. I was ashamed and heartbroken that I had caused her such hurt. 7 days in detox and 8 weeks of really good help from a psychologist, and I was dry, sober, and ready to face the world in the local AA program. Oh, wait. Ready to face the world again. The doctor strongly suggested that I participate in the local AA program, but I would have none of it. I was cured. I needed no further help. A year and a half later, I retired. I was enjoying my new freedom and gave myself permission to have a drink. Only when I was dining out. That worked so well that I made a new rule. I could have a cocktail before dinner and an after dinner drink. Then I made a rule that said I could serve alcohol to my friends in my home. That, of course, is the rule that sent me spinning right back down into fearless drunkenness or fearful drunkenness. I was worse than before. My self-imposed hell was in my own home, unbathed, in the same nightclothes, day after day, afraid of the phone, the doorbell, and the darkness. If the clock said 6, I wouldn't like whether it was morning or evening, or I wouldn't know. Days ran into each other in an agonizing blur. I crawled to bed, drank when I came to, and sat shivering in fear of some unknown tragedy that I thought was about to descend on me. I remember wailing because I couldn't make coffee, staying curled in a corner trying to sort out how I could yeah, without making a mess. I might have tried, but I was afraid no one would find me before I started to stink. Once again, my daughter came to my rescue, and I checked into the detox program at the hospital. This time, I was there for 10 days. During that 10 days, AA meetings were made available at the hospital. I was genuinely touched by the fact that they were led by a young man in a leg cast and on crutches, especially before I left, or especially when I realized, sorry, he came as a volunteer, and twice before I left, I was given a leave of absence to attend local AA meetings. Others have stated that they eagerly embrace the AA program. I lost my thought. At the hospital. This time, I was there for 10 days. During that time, AA meetings were made available at the hospital. I was genuinely touched by the fact that they were led by a young man in a leg cast and on crutches, especially when I realized that he came as a volunteer, and twice before I left, I was given a leave of absence to attend local AA meetings, and I just realized I already read that. Others have stated that they eagerly embraced the AA program. Unlike them, I did not enter the rooms willingly, nor did I find myself immediately at home. However, I had no other options. There was no escape route that I had not tried, none that had not led to another failure. I was 69 years old. I had neither time nor health to waste. For 6 months, I didn't drink, attended meetings, and sometimes read the big book. I went to meetings exactly on time, sat quietly, and left as soon as the meeting closed. In no way was I a part of the group. I was not impressed by the sayings and didn't really believe the messages I heard. Then one day I was called on to share, and I proceeded to explode. I announced that in no way was I a grateful alcoholic, that I hated my condition, that I did not enjoy the meetings, and that I did not leave the meetings refreshed. I found neither ease nor growth in the fellowship. My healing began with the arrogance of the statement. One of the women came to me after the meeting and told me I was about to go out. She offered to help me find a sponsor and led me to exactly the person I needed. This lady had 19 years of sobriety, and even more important, a wealth of experience in helping and guiding alcoholics through the steps of AA. By no means do I intend to imply that I leaped with pleasure into the program. I stalled and resented and refused to accept each step as it came up. I felt challenged by each new concept and resentful toward my sponsor, who seemed intent on reducing me to abject stupidity. It was years before I realized that I resented the changes the program asked me to make, not my sponsor. Thank you for being here, Scully. With a patient and unconditional love, she led me to acknowledge first that I was powerless over my alcoholism, then that others before me had conquered their illness, that there had to be some source of help higher than anyone else, and that together were a well of strength on which any one of us could draw. From that point, it was not hard to venture into the realization that a power greater than any one of us existed, and with the understanding, I found direction to my own special higher power. On a spiritual foundation, I began to build a new life. The third step was the most difficult for me, but having completed it, I found that I could face or untangle the other steps if and when I could remember to relax, trust the program, and implement the steps rather than fight it. Accepting my higher power did not fully change my attitude or resistance. It just made yielding to instruction or more instruction a more rational and acceptable mode of behavior. For each step, I still had to go through the process of recognizing that I had no control over my drinking. I had to understand that the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous had helped others and could help me. I had to realize that if I did want sobriety, I had better do the steps, whether I liked them or not. Every time I ran into trouble, I ultimately found that I was resisting change. My mentor had to remind me that AA is not just a project. AA offers me an opportunity to improve the quality of my life. I came to recognize that there is always a deeper and wider experience awaiting me. Early in my growth, I remember thanking my sponsor for the hours and hours she had given me. She said, "Don't you think that you will do the same for someone else someday?" I replied, "I will never be responsible to or for anyone else ever again." That refusal to make any kind of repayment to the program delayed my offering to be a service in any capacity, and consequently delayed my maturing process. Not until 2 years had passed was I willing to act as a group secretary. I was 4 years, it was 4 years before I was willing to sponsor anyone. Today it is with real gratitude that I am allowed into the lives of a few women. My own understanding is broadened and deepened by their influence in my life. As a newcomer, and I examine each step, both she and I receive new insight and find an additional facet to this jewel of sobriety. I'm proud now to be a part of the fellowship that showed me the path up and out of hell. Now I am eager to share my experience as others have shared theirs with me. Small miracles help, small miracles keep offering new opportunities just when I need change and growth. New friends have shown me hidden truths in those sayings that I once found so shallow. The lessons of tolerance and acceptance have taught me to look beyond exterior appearances, to find the help and wisdom so often lurking beneath the surface. All my sobriety and growth, mentally, emotionally, and spiritual, and are dependent upon my willingness to listen, understand, and change. During my 5th year as a part of my annual personal inventory, I realized that I had not succeeded in developing a spiritual depth in my program. And you keep partying, you stinky dog. I had accepted what I was taught, but had not gone in search of the private growth that I saw in others. I watched for and found people who take the program with them as they live, work, and play in the real world. Through their leadership by precept and example, I am finding the daily excitement essential to my development as a person and to my contact with my higher power. I approached Alcoholics Anonymous with fear and hesitation, then urged by the dread of what was behind me, I took tiny, delicate steps onto this new path. When I found the footing was firm, each tentative move brought me a little nearer the trust. Confidence grew, faith in my higher power expanded, and I came to recognize a light I had not known existed. Something within me shifted and welcomed a new source of strength, understanding, tolerance, and love. That selfish, withdrawn woman who announced that she would never be responsible to or for anyone ever again now finds sincere warmth in just being available. I count it a privilege to help other drunks. It's been 10 years since I retired, 7 years since I joined AA. Now I can truly say that I am a grateful alcoholic. Had I not become a drunk, I would have become another sober but sad statistic. At 75, I would be a lonely, unproductive old woman watching TV, doing needlepoint in my home without friends, and sinking further and further into an old age depression. As it is, AA has filled my days with friends, laughter, growth, and the feeling of worth that is rooted in constructive activity. My faith in and contact with my higher power shines more brightly than I dreamed it could. Those promises I thought were impossible are a viable force in my life. I am free to laugh all of my laughter, free to trust and be trusted, free to both give and receive help. I am free from shame and regret, free to learn and grow and work. I have left that lonely, frightening, painful express train through hell. I have accepted the gift of a safer, happier journey through life. So I read the first part and I highlighted in here. I had rejected AA on the outside, but now it came to me in prison. Today, I thank my higher power for giving me another chance at life and AA and being able to try and help some other alcoholics. I didn't think that I was going to be able to help anyone when I first started AA. I was like the next story. I I knew that I could become an alcoholic. Plain and simple. I knew I could because I watched family members be that person. But knowing now that there was this help that I had known about since I was little, I didn't know what it was, of course, because I was like 8, maybe younger. The first time I ever went to an AA meeting, So yeah, I didn't know what it was. But nevertheless, um, then they say, since I have been in AA, I have more friends than I ever had in my life. Friends who care about me and my welfare. Friends who don't care that I am black and that I have been in prison. I have more friends than I thought I would ever have. And yeah, I don't know what it's like to be a different color, a different race, of course, but I can vouch that we do accept you for who you are, not any other thing stands in the way of us helping the next alcoholic to become sober and stay sober. There's none of that stuff in there. Period. We don't allow it. Um, it's for helping everyone, no matter what race, gender, ethnics, religion. It doesn't matter. And I just want to say that you don't have to be afraid because no one at any AA meeting will bite you. There are no color bars in AA. If you give us a try, you will see that we are really human beings and we will welcome you with open arms and hearts. That is the truth. Completely true. We don't discriminate against anyone. And we don't turn you away even if you drank before the meeting. Um, we welcome you anyways because there's a reason you came there. If you're drunk and you come to that meeting, there's a reason you came to that meeting, which we've had happen. And we don't turn you away. We will literally sit there all night and talk with you if that's what you need. Uh, we don't say, oh, you're drunk, you have to go somewhere else. No, that's not what we do. That's not the program we run. I've had one of my friends come to AA completely blitzed, and we did not turn that person away. We sat there and we talked to that person and made sure that person knew that they were still welcome there, that they didn't have to go away. They could come in and sit with us. We were just there and willing to calm our friend down and try and help them understand that just because you come in that predicament doesn't mean that we're not going to help you. We will help in any way we can, whether it's giving you a ride home or sitting and talking to you, going and having coffee with you, yeah, doing the steps with you, whatever that you might want us to help with other than illegal stuff, that we're not going to do. As for the 75-year-old lady, it brings me to one of my sponsors. She was 79 or 80 when she passed away. But she was also, she drank when she was, she was a truck driver, and her, like me, her favorite drink was Jack Daniels. And she was actually a coworker of mine, And she became my best friend, like a mom figure, older than my mom, but she was like another mom to me. I called her mom. Um, she could tell I was having a bad day in just the way that I would text. It was amazing. Um, but she passed away a couple years ago, and so this one resonates with me for that purpose. Also, she says I was 20 when I had my first drink, and although I liked the taste, I didn't like the way it made me feel. That's me. Um, when I was a, when I was a teenage drinker, because yes, I drank as a teen. I had my 21-year-old friends and boyfriend and all that when I was 16, 17, 18. Husband at 21, who was still my husband. But but yeah, I had those days where I was gonna get drunk, and I didn't necessarily like the feeling, because when I got that buzz feeling, they'd still be handing me the drinks, and I'd just take them to the bathroom and dump them down the sink, because I didn't want to like not know where I was. And so that's what I would do when I first started drinking as the late teens. And when I hit 21, I was already a mom. I was mom at 17. Yeah. I was a mom of two when I was 18 years old. So I didn't drink. I didn't drink much after I turned 17 and had my oldest son. But I would have a drink here and there. And then I really didn't drink much after I turned 21. I did go to the bars. I drank a couple of drinks, but it still didn't take much to get me drunk at that point. I was a cheap date, really. But then when I got into my 30s, I want to say mid 30s, I want to say somewhere in there. That's when it went downhill real fast. And I never got in trouble with the law, thank God, knock on wood. Um, but I wasn't smart by any means, because I did drink and drive. And, well, I drank and then drove. Um, I only did that once. But I would also get in those knockout fights with my sister, and I didn't care what I said, when I said it, who I said it, and I didn't even remember it most of the time. Um, but I was literally where I had to have a drink in my hand in the morning, because I would have to shake so bad. So bad. I hated that. And so when I decided to get sober the first time, I didn't know what the AA program entailed, and I didn't start it then. But I did quit drinking for a year, not realizing that I'd set myself up to stay sober for a year, and then once that year was up, I went right back out. And yeah, I was back at the bottom like that. No joke. That's literal. And again, I would swear I didn't care who I hurt, what I did. I didn't care about anything except for that beer. And I did the last time. No, I can't say the last time I got not good. No, because that's not true. Last time I had drink was, of course, Jack Daniels or Black Velvet. If I wanted to get drunk fast, I would drink the liquor. I would take a pint to a pint and a half to get me snockered. And it wasn't fun because I was the only idiot drinking. It was lonely because I'd go sit outside in the middle of freaking nowhere by myself and drink myself away. And but when I came back here, a friend of mine was telling me that he was an alcoholic, or he's an alcoholic too, and I should go to AA, meet him at a meeting. So I did, and it just stuck. So I'm glad I found AA, and now I have sponsees. So I didn't think I would do service work, but as soon as I started AA, I had a sponsor like the second meeting, and which was a couple days later after my first one. But I started my service work, my third meeting, I want to say, and it was just putting out the pamphlets for the meetings and for, you know, for everybody to read the literature and all those type things. And then my sponsor signed her and I up to do a speaker meeting without me knowing. But the sponsor that passed away, she was always telling me to use my voice. Well, when I first got sober, I was using my voice in all the wrong ways. But I've learned now what she meant, and that's use it for this purpose. Helping the other alcoholic to get sober. And so I do, I'm a sponsor. I've sponsored a few people, men and women. Just because I feel like I can. I don't discriminate, so I share my story everywhere. Obviously, it's on YouTube, it's on Facebook. Um, I don't do Instagram. I I don't really do much on any other platform except for these two. So, but yeah, I do work my program. I don't go to meetings all the time, other than this one, and doing these meetings does help me to stay sober. I do have a sponsor still who I call if I need to. A couple weeks ago, tomorrow will be 2 weeks ago, I went to a meeting because I was just not feeling it and I needed to go to a meeting. So I went to a meeting and I feel better now. Even though I still gotta write it down and then burn it. That's how I've chosen to do amends with things that person's not here anymore. So, I gotta do it the way I can. And yeah. But anyways, I'm glad you're here. And thank you for staying and putting up with me reading and yapping. And I'm going to go ahead and read the daily reflection and then let you guys go about your day and get to it. Okay, here we go. April 27th, Joyful Discoveries. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to keep us. And to us, not keep. Keep is not even in there. Don't ask why I just put that in it. I'm a dork. Ask Him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answer will come. If your own house is in order, but obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got, see to it that your relationship with Him is right. Him, her, whatever you believe in, your higher power. And great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. Alcoholics Anonymous, page 164. Sobriety is a journey of joyful discovery. Each day brings new experience, awarenesses, greater hope, deeper faith, broader tolerance. I must maintain these attributes or I will have nothing to pass on. Great events for this recovering alcoholic are the normal, everyday joys found in being able to live another day in God's grace. And with that, we're going to say the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Keep coming back. It works if you work it. Love you guys.